everybody. My name is Charles Sells with PIP Group. Today we're talking about leveraging hard money with PIP's experience. We did this live about a week ago and got a lot of good feedback, but also a little bit of confusion, and it ran a little long. So we're going to try and clear some of that up, as well as give you some really good information about leveraging hard money, but also leveraging PIP. So let's jump right to it. First thing I'm going to show you, a lot of you that follow my webinars have seen this slide before, but it's the first hard money deal that we actually ever did. And we're going to show you some examples that are going to look just a little far-fetched. So I wanted to use an extreme in the profitability to show you how well we did on this flip using hard money. 98.97% profit in 1 year and 5 days. A lot went on with this property. We tore out the walls and we found termite damage that had to be fixed. We had to replace some of the beams on the house. So it ended up being a lot more work than we initially intended, but the profits still were amazing. We were into it for a total of $649, $525.55, and the cash on cash we brought out of it was $642, $843.35. So almost over 100% return. So power in numbers, what do we mean by that? Well, what you're looking at here is two properties that PIP is renovating on behalf of its investors at the same time. So not only are we able to move faster, we're able to do it for less cost, and we're really, by having the volume that we do and doing streets at a time, we're not necessarily having to wait for the markets to appreciate. We're creating them because all the comparables that you would find in a market analysis are our properties popping up. So we're really excited about what we're doing in Savannah, and here's an idea of what we've been doing. Now, obviously, with COVID, we had to look for new ways to be creative, and that's how we got to this leveraging point. As investors know, we are essentially a servicing agent on behalf of investors, and we get a performance bonus when the properties sell. We needed to find a way that we could open up leveraging to our investors. So essentially that's what we've been doing for the last 8 months is figuring out how to make that work so we can get more and more into properties like this. But you can see that the power is in the numbers. This slide actually needs to be updated because there's 5 more properties that we've already added here. So it's really a numbers game and being able to pull CMAs that are actually our own properties. Now, with the craziness of the election and the craziness of COVID, a lot of investors have kind of reeled back, if you will, and are playing the wait and see game. Well, while that's going on, I mean, we are feeling the activity of the markets just exploding right now. People are moving down to the southeast in droves, and some of these comments are just the comments that I pulled from various real estate articles recently. The reason I have the one at the bottom highlighted is because for the last 6 years, I've talked about recession-proof investing. I've talked about how Savannah is the next Charleston, and I've talked about how Charleston was essentially unscathed from the last recession, and in fact grew exponentially during the last recession. It's highlighted because Charleston is the low country. That is where I live, which is in Hilton Head, is just south of Charleston. That's also called the low country. There are no signs of it slowing down. In fact, one property that we have on Hilton Head, we initially intended to list it for sale as a flip for $850,000. Because of everything that's going on, there's no inventory on the island anymore. So we're actually going to list it for $1.2 million. So keep an eye for an update on some of that as well. So like I said, Charleston, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but Charleston was then, Savannah is now. And we're seeing it every day. We're seeing my recession-proof investment webinars are showing to be spot on, which is a nice thing to have. And like I said, if you have been following me, look what Charleston's doing just in the third quarter of 2020. Because they were already built out, there's not a lot of flip activity left. But what there is, as you can see, prices have nearly doubled in the third quarter of 2020. That's astounding. That goes to show you how people are just, again, flocking to the Southeast as more people work from home permanently. Commercial, Wall Street guys are able to do things remotely, and that's, if you're going to do that, you might as well live where you want to work. So there's just a lot of that going on, and it's going to carry out through 2021 and 2022. We are in year 5 of what I consider a 15-year play in the Savannah market. And again, there's certain things that are pushing the market the way it is, and a big part of that is Savannah College of Art and Design. Just like in Charleston with MUSC, they're building up the city by buying up dilapidated buildings and converting them into the campus, where these kids go to learn. They just bought 3 more within 2 blocks of where we are heavily investing right now. Once they finish their construction there, then we're going to be dead smack in the middle of the campus of 3 more learning sites. So lots going on in Savannah, and continued growth that we'll get into a little more as well. All right, so why Savannah? I can't say enough good things about Savannah, and I've been so bold as to say I think Savannah is probably one of the best real estate markets in the country right now. It's affordable, it's great for first-time home buyers, and it's got doesn't have a lot of new inventory, which makes it, again, helps make it recession-proof. But it's got a lot of old, distressed inventory, which is why I say we have about 10 years to follow in the past that Charleston did. Savannah is part of the southeast region of 60 market centers that include, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. And I mean, these are major cities. Savannah was the second largest in 2020 to sell properties or have sales value in real estate. I mean, can you imagine? It's Nashville, which was the hottest market 2 years ago, had 180 families moving there. I want to say per week for a while, and our little old Savannah beat out cities like Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. That's just remarkable. Our market appreciation in Savannah has been 9% year over year for the last 4 years. So we've been promising our investors 16% cash annualized return on their investments in Savannah. That's a pretty easy number to reach when you get a market appreciation of 9% per year, and we state that investments are 9 to 12 months long. So that kind of gives some clarity to those of you who are wondering how we're able to offer 16% promise so confidently. There's a lot of reasons, but obviously that's one of them. As I mentioned, there's a low inventory of new homes, so we're not really going to see any impact from the foreclosures and the evictions that are inevitable in our future. It's going to be 2021, and we're not going to really feel that impact. If anything, we're going to benefit from it because there's going to be an increase in inventory, which means competition is going to come down. Rents in Savannah neighborhoods have grown by as much as 33% in the last 3 years. That's insane. That's nearly triple the state average. That's nearly triple any average, quite honestly. And PIP did about 80 flips last year, or in 2020, and we forecast that number to grow to about 120 because we are offering this new leveraging opportunity. It's a great opportunity whether you're a small investor or a large investor. It opens a lot of doors that were closed for a lot of investors because we're leveraging PIP's experience, and we're literally becoming partners with you. So rather than being an agent, we're going to be a partner with you. So according to Savannah's Renewal Authority, we're set to grow by 37%, and that has been in a lot of my past presentations. I've always said I think that is a lofty number, but the 1920 data seems to be that we're right on target for that. It has to do with ports and the expansion of our ports. Savannah in 2020 transported more containers through its port than any other port in the country. I mean, that is saying a lot when you talk about, you know, the West Coast and Los Angeles. We've done more business than they have. That's incredible. As I'm recording this, it's December 22nd. We still don't know who our president's going to be. But if it's the Biden administration, just like Obama, he's promising 15,000 stimulus to first-time home buyers. Obama did the same thing, and we chased the first-time home buyers. And as you see in my recession-proof investment webinars, I always say first-time home buyers is the direction to go because they're the ones that are always going to get bailed out first. So just like we saw then, we're going to see it again. Savannah also already had in place before this what's called a Dream Makers program. It allows for up to $60,000 of, I'm going to call it stimulus, that's a word we're all becoming very familiar with, towards their mortgage if they're buying in a certain opportunity zone, a local Savannah type opportunity zone. And I talk about that more in the Why Savannah webinars and the Recession Proof Investing webinars. In November of this year, Southwest announced 5 new direct routes to Savannah. They've never been in Savannah. So obviously they're seeing trending as well. And with more residents, more revenue, there's going to be more city renewal, and we're boots on the ground. We've been in it already. So we are ready for it, and we're excited about it. But we needed to figure out a way to be able to leverage to really make that expansion and that growth. Savannah's been a top 10 in various magazines, including #4 destination from Traveler magazine for family vacations. And recently, I know that it came up within 1 in 10 for places to live. So again, we're following Charleston's path to a T. Finally, there's a lot of historical properties in Savannah, and they want to preserve that charm and that history. Georgia offers a 20% tax credit against repairs, and the federal government provides a 25% tax credit against repairs. So that's a big deal when you think about it on the grand scale of things. If you are rehabbing a quadruplex and it's got $250,000 in repairs in it, exactly 45% of that is going to get credited back to you in a tax break. All right, so let's jump into the nuts and bolts of this. One thing I love about my job is that, yes, I have to be a salesman to do what I do, but everything I do and everything PIP does, it's all documentable. Everything I show you, you can go online and research yourself. So I love that about what we do. It's not like I'm pitching an idea. I'm showing you hard numbers. I'm showing you hard facts that you can then go verify yourself. So here's a property, 1440 Claremont Circle. We had it listed for $140,000, and we used leverage for this investment. So as you can see here, the cash to close on this spreadsheet. Now this is the spreadsheet that has actually been provided by the lender. So as you can see, the cash to close on this is $23,907.50. But the total cash needed is $42,255.81. So what's the difference there? So when you're working with hard money or leveraging capital, they want two things. They want the cash to close, and then they want you to do the rehab out of pocket, but then they will reimburse you that through escrow. So you're technically having to set aside $45,255.81 for the investment, but you're not necessarily spending all of that because you're going to do the cash to close, and then we're going to start to do the repairs. We're going to get 20% of those repairs done. We're going to go to the hard money lender and say, okay, go do your inspection. We'd like our rehab money back. They're going to send it back. We're going to do this next 20%, so forth and so on until the property's done. So something to keep in mind when you look at the profits that I'm about to show you is that's how it works. And again, a lady on my live broadcast a week ago called me out because I was showing the profits as you see them on this screen. I was showing them as the cash to close amount rather than the total cash needed. No, you're not putting all that money in, but technically it's set aside, so it should be considered part of the investment total. It's in your account, but again, it should be part of your investment total. So you can see here in this deal, PIP's bonus is pretty lofty, and we're going to get into that in a minute because, like I said, we're going to be partners in this. So the net profit on this particular investment was 49.29%. Now remember, that's half of the one I showed you at the beginning in the beach house. So they're going to be all over the place. But 49.29% cash on cash to the client in 9 months, even with our lofty bonus, is really good for the investor. So something to keep in mind for sure. Now let's look at it in a different way. Okay, so that lady that called me out on it on the live webinar, we're going to use the numbers now as if you've set aside that money, even though it's not technically invested, it's set aside. So we're going to consider the cash to close plus the monthly interest plus the total cash needed. So that investment then becomes $49,300.77. The seller do it close doesn't change, so our bonus doesn't change, but your client net profits are essentially cut down a little bit. But 27.94% in 9 months is still a remarkable return, any way you slice it. So that is using this example for this particular house. But let's look at another one under similar conditions. All right, so we have this house. This one was just recently done, and let's slice the numbers around a little bit more. This one, the cash to close was only $9,713 with a monthly interest of $470.49. Rehab out of pocket is $30,000. So again, now we're talking about total cash needed of $40,935.47. The client net profit is $50,897.40, or a 286.9% return in 12 months. Now I know that sounds completely unrealistic, but the numbers don't lie. And again, this is all verifiable. So the numbers don't lie. And our bonus is pretty substantial. Yours is too. But again, we're partners now. We're not just your servicing agent. We're actually partners in a company together, and we're going to get into that. So if we use my friend that called me out last week on it, and we change the numbers around a little bit, again, the number gets cut in half, but you're still at 111.06%. So now you're getting closer to that beach house I showed you in the very beginning. So that's essentially, a fantastic return. Using leverage, using somebody else's investment. And what's more wonderful about it is it opens the opportunity for more investors that are essentially just getting their start. And a barrier to investing is experience and capital. So we're providing you all that experience, and it gets you in the front door, if you will. So why partner with PIP? Well, we have industry recognitions with hundreds of flips, not just in Savannah, but that is where our focus and all our attention is. You can use our success and our experience to leverage for a better rate. That means on your loan rate. You also, because you're using our leverage, you get more flexible loan terms. As I said, PIP has more skin in the game now, so we're your partner. So we obviously are only going to make a profit on the back end. What I'm going to show you in a minute, we actually have a lot more invested on the front end than you may realize, because we have the administration, we have the scouting for properties, the canvassing, etc. So we're going to highlight that in just a minute. The investment still remains passive for you, but there's more transparency now. Rather than being a servicing agent where you invest with us and your funds for repairs are sent to us. Now you're going to be investing, you're going to be putting that money in a bank account that is yours and ours. And you're going to have transparency. You're going to see when those repairs get paid out, when they come back in. You're going to see all of that happening. You're going to see the documents we use. You're going to see all the cost estimates and everything else. It's just a lot more you get to benefit from with this setup, because again, we're partners. So how does it work? You, that we're going to call Newco, you're 100% owner in a company or an LLC. All these hard money lenders want you to be an LLC or some form of corporation. Now, Newco could be a trust. You could have a part of it in there. It could have a percentage of SDRA money in there, but it has to be structured as a business. So you set that up. If you don't have one set up, we'll set that up for you. It costs about $650, to get you registered with a Georgia LLC with a name you choose, and so on. Now there's Platinum. That's us. That's PIP. Many of you may not know, but PIP stands for Platinum Investment Properties. It wasn't ever supposed to be PIP, but that's just what it became. And then we're going to take those two, and we're going to merge it into Newco, you having 60% and Platinum having 40% of a brand new LLC. Now we're going to use this same LLC over and over again to invest in leverage. So we literally become legitimate partners in each deal going forward. So it's not like each deal has to have its own structure like this. We can do multiple deals like this in the same LLC that we set up. As I hinted to, do not say you carry all the burden of risk. I have to have a fairly substantial staff to be able to manage and oversee this investment and these investments. So we don't want to say you carry all the burden or risk, because actually our investment is equal to, if not greater than, your capital partnership. So as the capital partner, you provide the capital. Platinum provides hours of online researching, running the numbers on comps, formulating the potential RVs, canvassing. Canvassing is it's a full-time job. Canvassing is literally going out and going door to door, looking for distressed properties, talking to people on the street who are neighbors and whatnot, and really digging to find the owners of those properties so we can buy them. So there's a lot of due diligence that goes on even before we identify a property. We do foreclosure auctions. We work with probate courts. That is an extraordinarily time-consuming job as well. The skip tracing that goes on with probate is very time-consuming. Setting up the deals is very time-consuming. There's a lot involved in that. But that's where we get the properties. Working with wholesalers. So over the last 2 years, it seems like wholesalers just came out of the woodworks. So for every one wholesaler that you get that is legitimate, you're going to get 199 that aren't. But we have to look at every single one of those deals that comes in and consider it. A lot of times, you look at it at face value and say, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But others, you get into it, they look like they have a good price, but maybe they don't have all their documents and paperwork in order, so the deal's essentially lost at that point. So there's a lot of this that goes on before we even make the purchase of the property. Lots of time spent doing this. Renovations. Once we get to renovations, a lot of people think that we just we go to Home Depot and buy materials and get out there to the job site and get building. That's not the case at all. We build supplier lists and negotiate prices. We work with Floor and Decor. We are on the speed dial list of the general manager of the Floor and Decor in Savannah, and we will go down there once a week, and we will pull all of their clearance items, and it could be It could be, $12 pieces of marble that we're picking up for $1. And it just happens to be an odd count, but we can use that count in a bathroom somewhere. So we literally have our own space in the Floor and Decor warehouse where our contractors go and say, hey, I need 250 square feet of tile. Floor and Decor pulls whatever we've already bought. So there's a lot that goes into it as far as the renovations are concerned. We also have to consider the plans. If we're doing a historical rehab, obviously that's going to be far different than we're doing, a first-time home buyer fix and flip, which again requires different materials, different processes, different permits. Hiring contractors. Now, again, on the last call, somebody said, well, if you're this organization, you should already have all these contractors in place, and that is absolutely correct. We probably have over 100 bodies working with us at any one time. But contractors are contractors. I always say that. He could be your best contractor for 2 years, and all of a sudden he just, personal life changes, whatever the case, he just falls off the wagon maybe, and they got to go. So we're always vetting new contractors, always. So something to keep in mind. Inspecting the renovation process. Have this highlighted because I want to make sure that everyone understands that I hit on this, these points. I or one other person do the weekly inspections every week in Savannah. So I spend the night, Thursday nights in Savannah. I spend 2 days driving all of our properties that are under construction. And before I release a draw or a payment to a contractor, I make sure the work is up to snuff and where it should be. And if it's not, they don't get their draw until the following week. So that's the way it works in Savannah. And we've had other people say, oh, well, you should have a project manager in that position. We've had many project managers in that position. And we've just come to the realization that it's not something that it doesn't add up to our standards, essentially. We consider the inspection of the renovation process kind of like the tip of the sword, if you will. So that project manager has to be somebody who is essentially in charge of everything. And there's only 2 people that I trust to do that, and one of them is myself. So that is how the renovations process works. Offload. We're always looking for new photographers to take the pictures. So many people are buying houses right now based on pictures and video and FaceTime calls with a realtor. It's not even funny. We sold, my wife and I sold our house in April just exactly like that. It was based on a FaceTime call with a realtor, and the buyer was from New York. So you always want to look for people who can take pictures that are maybe even better than the property actually is, which was the situation with us. Working with realtors, marketing material and promotions for buyer reps. So we'll take out of our cut, if you will, or we will pay in advance for hosting open houses for realtors. We will provide them with promotions. Hey, you sell this in the next 30 days, we'll give you an extra $5,000 in commissions, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot involved, and I've got here 10 closings. I should have said also in the acquisition, we're also attending that closing. So a lot's going on with that. Miscellaneous, third-party accounting oversight. So I mentioned that we're going to have a bank account where you're going to have the transparency for all of this to go in and go out. We're also going to have a third-party accountant that is going to oversee all of this as well. Now, their job isn't necessarily to, cross the T's and dot the I's, but it's to, when we get to tax time, it's to find ways to save on capital gains and certain processes like that. But again, you have access to this person or this company, if you will, and it's just one more step of transparency. Miscellaneous is also building relationships with law enforcement and code enforcement. If they know you, they know your standards, and they're going to be a little more lenient with you. If you have a problem with one of your properties that's been broken into, if you're good with the sheriff's department, they're going to take better care of you and send more patrols along your properties. Relationships with city and council and county officials, that is very important. If you can get a permit in 3 days versus 3 weeks, that is definitely going to improve on your bottom line at the end of the day. Relationships with pre-sale inspectors. Now I'm talking about inspectors that we've gotten the property on market, we have a buyer, and the bank has sent out their inspector. It's always good to know what they're looking for so we can go ahead and have it taken care of before it ends up on the amendment to address. And always ongoing network of lawyers, realtors, wholesalers, etc. We're always going to functions or doing things to help promote ourselves and expand our network and our opportunity along with it. Okay, how hard money works. A lot of people are intimidated by hard money, and they shouldn't be. This is also called private lending because it seems like it's very convoluted, a difficult process, which it isn't. The hardest part is probably identifying the property and itemizing the repairs. That can take a long time to gather that paperwork and submit it to the hard money lender. So how does the process work? First, we identify a property purchase. Remember, we've already set up our LLC. We haven't funded anything. We've opened our bank account, but we're ready to go. So first, we're going to identify a property purchase. We're going to get it under contract. If it's not something that's already in inventory, we're going to set a closing date. Then we have to determine what all the repairs are going to be in the budget, and like I said, we have to submit an itemized list of those repairs and the budget, as well as include what the after repair value is expected to be. So we have to be pretty on target for this to get through the process. Then the hard money lender sends their own appraiser to verify the ARV. So now we have funded a little bit into the new LLC bank account. It's about $500 to send an appraiser out there to do all their stuff. Once it comes back and it's approved, the lender determines cost value and reserves ratio. I showed you a little bit of that on the spreadsheets in the beginning. We'll revisit it here in just a minute. Investor submits the down payment, so now you are funding. You're funding straight to the closing attorney, and you're funding based on what the lender and we have agreed on, and then the funds are closed, or then the closing is done, the lender funds, and boom, we're done. At that time, you'll start making interest-only payments monthly. As you saw, they're pretty insignificant, and we start doing the repairs right then and there. We're ready to drop and roll, if you will. Okay, so we're back to this spreadsheet that we showed you in the beginning, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. First is the loan amount. As you can see over on the right there, look at loan amount number 2. It's 90% of purchase price plus 90% of rehab. You're only going to get that level with PIP. You can actually get 90% of purchase price and 100% of rehab. And it's because of our long history of success in doing these flips. So you're going to get the best rates that you can basically find out there with us, and they're going to be deals like this. So you can see that. Other thing I want to bring your attention to is if you go down to the bottom, you see the monthly payment is $449.44. If we were to flip this thing in less than 90 days, which isn't going to happen, the minimum interest you would pay is $1348.31. Underneath that, you have extension fee. Now, I showed you the slide of the beach house where we made 98.97% and we closed it in 1 year and 5 days. Well, we didn't get it closed in 1 year, so we had to pay an extension fee on a very large sum of money of 1%. So that's 1% of the total loan value. So in this case, it'd be on the $67,500. It doesn't really impact you that bad, but obviously we like to try and get these deals done faster. But the upside is that these loans go for 12 months normally, so that's an ample amount of time to get in and get out. Depending on what time of year you get in, because real estate sales are seasonal, you may be pushing that gap a little bit. So you get to actually do 3 extensions at 3 months each. So we could technically go, 18 months on this, and still be okay. And so something to keep in mind. But this is you see the rehab feasibility study. That's a cost that is a direct cost of the investor, and the appraisal. So those are 2 costs here that on this particular project was right about $1,000 to make the acquisition. So that's a direct cost incurred on the investor when we do that inspection and that appraisal. All right, last but not least, repair draws. How does that work? Investor pays the initial cost to repair. Like we said, we can do it in stages. It can be 2 draws because there is a cost, again, to send an inspector out there to confirm the repair's been done. It can be done twice. It can be done every $10,000. It's up to you. At the completion of each stage, we request the inspection and the draw from the lender. That is once approved. That is wired by the lender back into that account that we talked about we're setting up in our partnership. So that's pretty much it from beginning to end. The next step, obviously, once everything is repaired, we put it on the market and sell it by traditional means for the top dollar we can possibly get for it. So that's how it works in a nutshell. It's pretty simple. It's a great opportunity. We'll both make a lot of money on it, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, so getting started. What's next? First, just contact us with your interest. Then what we'll do is we'll send you the operating agreement, which it is edible. It's not locked in concrete or stone. It will have to be approved by our corporate attorney. But if there's something in there that you don't like, we can certainly negotiate on some of the terms. If you don't already have an LLC, we'll set one up for you. The cost for that's about $650. We'll set that up for you, and then we'll set up our LLC as well. You're going to pick a name, and you're actually going to pick 3. One of those names we're going to use to set up an LLC for you if you don't already have one. Otherwise, we are going to submit those 3 names to the Secretary of State, and they will then approve that name, one of the 3, and we will begin setting up that LLC, and that will be the ones that we're partners with. Then we apply for the tax ID, we set up the bank account, and we're ready to roll. Essentially, at that point, we will identify a property. We will then get that through the hard money leverage, and they'll send out their appraiser or their inspector, make sure our numbers are right, and we're off to the races. It's really actually quite a simple process once we get the foundation set, if you will, and we get set up and get ready to start investing. So it's pretty simple. If you got any questions, obviously this is a pre-recorded webinar. Write them down, shoot me an email. I'm happy to reply. I'm pretty responsive when it comes to email, not as much by phone, but absolutely get in touch with me. 877-335-2529 is our office number. My email is charles@pipgroup.com, and the website for more information is pipgroup.com. Now, I will tell you that this opportunity is so fresh, so new, we don't even have it on our website as of December 22nd, 2020. So depending on when you're watching this, more information might not be there yet. But check back often because we're going to just start flooding our website with the results of investors taking advantage of this opportunity and showing how well they actually perform using leverage and using PIP's experience to make those profits bigger and better. Thank you for your time and have a great afternoon.